Hey guys, we are starting our very last unit of videos, so let's go ahead and get straight to it because there is kind of a lot of information in this one. All right, so you should have your Unit 6 packet, Lesson 6.1. We're going to be talking about measures of center and measures of variability. So in this first part, we're just doing measures of center. So our learning target is that we can identify and describe measures of center and spread of a data set. When I say measures of variability, I mean measures of spread. It's the same thing. You've got quite a long list of vocabulary here. I'm not going to go through it all because I'm going to talk about it throughout the lesson, but if you need to refer back to your glossary, that is at the beginning of your packet, as you know. So in Unit 6, this is our statistics unit. We're going to be looking at lots of different ways to describe sets of data, ways to display sets of data, ways to analyze it. So we're going to start here with your most basic thing, which is measures of center. The first type, measures of center, are just a way of summarizing a set of data and figuring out what's going to be your typical value. The first one we're going to look at is the median. The median is the middle term in a set of data, and to find the median, first thing you need to do, and really the first thing you should always do if you're given a set of data, is to put it in order from least to greatest, because it's a lot easier to notice any trends and to do calculations with it if you've got it organized beforehand. So let's go ahead and put this set of data in order in example 1. So what I do, and this is, just user preference, but what I do is I list the number and I mark it out as I go. So I marked out 12, and then I've got 18, and then 19, and then 21, and then 25. And that allows me to catch any mistakes if I don't get all of my values or whatever. Another thing, and this isn't so necessary with this set because it's a fairly small data set, but a lot of times I'll count, like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of data, and then I'll count my final list when I've got it in order, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's another little thing. Like I said, this one's really small, so it's easy to see I've got them all. But when you get 10, 20 pieces of data, it's helpful just to count. It's a quick and easy way to check yourself to make sure you didn't leave anything out. All right, so the median is the middle number. So if I've got 5 numbers, then I know that my middle one is going to be right here. Again, lots of different ways of doing this. Some people will say, okay, well, I've got 5 pieces of data, so cut that in half. It's going to be 2.5, so we're going to go 2, and then this is going to be my 1. Other people say I'm going to mark one out here, mark one out here, mark one out here, mark one out here, and you land in the middle. Whatever the case may be, your median for this set of data is 19. Sometimes you might have a data set, though, that's got 2 middle points. So basically you have an even number of data points, so when you cut them in half, there's not a specific number that's in the middle. So we have a way of dealing with this. What you're going to do is take those 2 middle points, add them together, and then divide by 2. And this is a way of getting your actual middle of the data set, of actually folding it in half. Basically, you're taking the average of that middle data set. So let's first put this one in order. It looks like nope, it's not in order, almost. So 75, 78, 81, 89, 94, and 100. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so I'm good. So in the middle, I'm going to go 3 on this side, 3 on this side. So my middle is right here between 81 and 89. So to figure out what the precise middle is, or median, I'm going to say 81 plus 89, and then I'm going to divide by 2. A lot of times what I'll do, because, I'm lazy and I just want to save time, is I will circle these 2 or identify these 2 middle ones in some way, and then just put a plus sign in between them and my little divided by 2. So, anything to save a bit of time. So 81 plus 89 is 170, and 170 divided by 2 is going to be 85, which is halfway between 81 and 89. So the median of this data set is 85. Now, one thing you need to know is that the median is the measure of center that we use when there are outliers, because it's going to be the least affected by an outlier. And we're going to talk more later about what an outlier is, but basically it's those numbers that don't fit with the rest of the data set. So if I added a 300 or something here, then the median, yeah, it's going to shift a little bit, but not a huge amount. So the median is really good when you have an outlier in your data set. Okay, so the next measure of center we're going to discuss is the mode. The mode is the number that appears the most often in a data set. It is possible to have more than one mode if you've got a tie between numbers, basically. It's also possible to have no mode at all. This is when every piece of data shows up the exact same number of times. The best time to use mode is when you have one set of data that is more than half of your values, so it's overwhelmingly representative of the data set, or if it's something that's non-numerical, like if I'm asking you guys to vote on who your favorite teacher is, then that would be something where the mode would be the winner, because I'm not a number. So the mode of a given data set, when I look at this, I've got two 18s. It is better if you have already got your data set in order, it's a bit easier to find your mode because clumps of numbers that are the same will stick out. But in one that's really small like this, you can pretty well see that my mode is 18. It occurs twice. Everything else just occurs once. When I look at this one, I've got 19 twice, and everything else just occurs once, so my mode is going to be 19. Here, let's see, I've got 13 twice, I've got 15 twice, so there's a tie. My mode is both 13 and 15. Okay, so it's possible then to have no mode. If maybe this 18 hadn't been in there, then each number would have occurred once and I would have written no mode. Okay, so an example of something with no mode would be a data set that's 1, 3, 5, 9, 27. Okay, there's no mode there because I've got 5 numbers, they're all different, they all show up once. Okay, all right, one last measure of center, and it's probably the one that's used the most frequently. It is the mean. You've probably heard it called the average as well. They mean the same thing. The mean is the most commonly used. It's also the one that takes the most effort, because what you have to do to find the mean, I'm sure you remember this from elementary and middle school, is that we have to add up all of our values and then divide by the number of values you have. So I'm going to take a minute to pull up my calculator and add these numbers up, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so when I added these all up, I got 601. I recommend adding them up at least twice to make sure you got it right, unless you've got a calculator or a phone or something where you can see, why can't I hold this up, where you can see that you've put them all in correctly. But either way, I got 601, and now there's there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces of data, so I'm going to divide that by 7, and that gets me an answer of 85 point, let's round it to the nearest hundredth, 85.6. It actually is a decimal that goes on, seems to be irrational, but just round it, and when in doubt, just round to the nearest hundredths place, that second decimal place. So my average is about 86 or so. All right, there's one last thing we've got to show you here. Sometimes you may be given the mean and some of the data, and you're asked to find a missing data point. This is a really common word problem that you'll see on tests and things. And also, this is honestly something I've done in my life. Like, I want to know, I have a 75 in class, I want to know what I need to make on the milestone to bring my grade up to a B, or what I need to make on whatever to have an average that I want. This is something that people really do, so it's a useful skill to have. So let's look at this example. Cole made the following scores on his first 4 math tests. Cole did pretty good. Oh, and then he fell apart. He made a 78. He made an 85, an 87, and a 68. And we want to know what his fifth score would be. Well, remember, our steps for solving or for finding the mean is first add up all your data points. So 75, can't talk tonight. 78 plus 85 plus 87 plus 68 plus some unknown fifth test that we don't know yet. And then what the next thing we do after we add all the data up is we divide by the number of data pieces we've got. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You count that fifth test, even though we don't know what it is yet, we know that when he gets his final average, he's going to need to divide by 5. And what he wants is a B. So that's an 80 or above. So he would like for this average to equal 80. Okay, so now what we're going to do is simplify this just a little bit. So 78 plus 85 plus 87 plus 68 adds up to 318. I can't add in that x yet because I don't know what it's going to be, but I know that it's divided by 5. Now, this is an equation that we've solved 100 times probably because they show up all the time to prepare you for problems like this. I'm going to deal with this 5 first. I'm going to multiply by 5 on both sides because dividing by 5 I can undo with multiplying. That leaves me with 318 plus x equals, and then 80 times 5 is 400. And now I'm just going to subtract that 318. I'm going to subtract that 318 and I get x equals 82. So that tells us that if Cole wants to have a B in the class, then he has got to get an 82 on that next test in order to get his average where he wants to be, which is not a bad spot to be in. All right, so next we're going to talk about measures of variability, but I'm going to stop it here and let you practice measures of center a little bit if you want, and then we'll come back and do measures of variability in this same lesson.